Welcome to another exciting biblical story. Jesus was on the Mount of Olives and then he went to the temple. And suddenly he heard many noises and people were shouting. And you know what? A very, very beautiful woman was right in the middle of the crowd. And they were shouting, "Stone her, stone her." And you know what? They went to Jesus and said to him, "This woman, she was caught in adultery." That means she had a man, she was married, but she then had another man, and that's a bad sin. And according to the laws of Moses, they said she has to be stoned. But they asked Jesus about his opinion. And Jesus, he was bowing down and he wrote in the sand, "Whosoever has committed no sin should throw the first stone on her." And you know, these people who obeyed the law, they wanted to see what Jesus said and they wanted to give him a trap, you know, to accuse him that he would be against the law of Moses. But you know what? Jesus, the Son of God, he had a deeper law, a law of love. And again they said, "What are you going to do with that woman? She deserves to be stoned. This is the commandment of Moses and we have to obey that." And again Jesus was kneeling down and said, "Whosoever has committed no sin shall throw the first stone." And then the people were looking, what was he writing in the sand? We will see, we will stone this woman. And then they were reading, "Whosoever has done no sin shall throw the first stone." Oh, they thought, I have been sinning. And the other thought, I have been sinning too. So the men, they just disappeared. One after the other, they just disappeared. And only Jesus and this woman was alone there. And Jesus said to the woman, "What did all these men do? Did they stone you? Did they do any harm to you?" "No, they all left. I know I deserve to die." "You don't need to die. You are forgiven. But sin no more. Don't do it again." So Jesus sent her away and said, "Don't sin again. You are forgiven." So Jesus gives us a sample that he is full of love and that God is a God of love and that God sees deeper than outward things. So children, if you have done something wrong and you really, really repented and you regret it and you repent afterwards and ask God to forgive you, he is ready to forgive you and he sees your heart. People might see outward things and condemn you, but God sees your heart and he loves you so much. And if you regret something very bad you have done, God is able to forgive you. And Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ, forgives you too if you ask him. And he is not judging you. Perhaps people judge you, but he is not judging you. He sees your heart and why you have done that. Perhaps this woman was searching for love and no one gave her love. And this other man gave her love. But she was ready to give that love away and to be obedient to God. But Jesus did not condemn her. He gave her a second chance. And sometimes there are also parents, now I'm speaking to the parents, who have conflicts in their marriage. Ask for a second chance. Forgive one another. If one does a mistake, just forgive one another and ask God for fresh, new love for your relationship. And God is able to forgive. And you children, as I said before, He can forgive you. But now you will hear a second story about another woman. Jesus was invited to a private home in Bethany, and suddenly someone was knocking at the door. And a beautiful woman came in. And she had a very, very, very expensive perfume. And she had to work for many months for this perfume. And she went to Jesus and she poured the perfume over his head. And it smelled beautifully. But his disciples said, "What a waste of money! What did she do? We could have sold this expensive perfume and we could help people who have nothing, poor people we could help with that money. Why do you judge this woman? What she has done is a preparation. I will soon die, and she anointed me. Poor people you have always with you, but I'm going. So she anointed me for my burial. So don't judge her." So Jesus saw the love of this woman. And sometimes people are very, very cruel to one another and speak harsh to one another, and then they hurt one another. We should not do so. This woman was full of love to Jesus. And I don't know how long she had to work to buy that costly perfume. And she wanted to express her love to Jesus. And perhaps she was hurt in her heart because they judged her. But Jesus did not judge her. He said, "Thank you. Thank you what you have done." And people from all the world who will read this story will hear what you have done to me. In other words, I love you. I love you. You're a wonderful woman. And thank you that you expressed your love to me. And Jesus knew everything about her life. And he just loved her. I want to tell you one story, but this story is more for adults because it happened to a couple. They were happily married, but she, the woman, then started to be a secretary. And then she had a love relationship with her boss. And then, soon after, the boss gave his life to Jesus. And he regretted all. And he went to her husband and said, "I'm so sorry that I broke your marriage. I'm so sorry." And you know, also the woman gave her life to Jesus, and she also asked her husband, "Please forgive me." And also the husband then believed in God, and they could, they could forgive one another, and they were friends. Can you imagine? They are friends afterwards. But it's the best is not to break any marriage, yeah? So, but that's a story for adults. God can give always a second chance. And Jesus doesn't condemn us. Or children, if you have done something wrong, ask God and Jesus for forgiveness and start new. And don't do the bad things anymore, please. Okay? Like Jesus said, don't do the bad things anymore, he said to the woman. So he also asked you to stop doing the bad things. And He will help you to change. Okay, but you will hear more very exciting biblical stories in one of our next programs. Bye-bye till then.